Alright. So if you clicked on this video, I take it that you want to be cool. You want to be smart. You want people to respect you. Well, you're in luck, because by the end of this tutorial, I'll be uploading another tutorial on how you can wear this really cool pineapple suit that I found on Amazon for only $70. That's a steal. But until then, let's get into the tutorial for how to solve a Rubik's Cube. So, is solving a Rubik's Cube difficult? Well, the only thing harder than solving a Rubik's Cube is trying to grow this freaking banana plant in the heart of Colorado. It just will not grow. It's literally just drying up. But anyway, let's go ahead and give this thing a good scramble. Uh-oh, it's scrambled. Whatever will I do? Well, that's where I come in handy. See, there are only 5 steps to solving a Rubik's Cube. Step 1 is the cross. Step 2 is the first layer. Step 3, second layer. Step 4, this top yellow face. And then step 5, the final permutation of the third layer. The centerpiece is what determines the color of the face. Therefore, there is no point to moving the centerpiece. If you move the centerpiece, you're just simply going to have to move all the other pieces to make up for that move. So, for the purpose of this, we will not be moving any of these center layers, but only the layers around them. Now this step is pretty difficult. It's difficult because at this point, the cube is the most scrambled that it's going to be throughout the entire solve. Essentially, this means the edge pieces you're looking for can be anywhere. We have one on this bottom layer, we have one on this middle layer, and we even have one on the top layer. So, for the sake of simplicity, we're going to be using, to solve the white cross, what is known as the daisy method. And it's called the daisy method because by the end of it, it looks like a cute little daisy. Isn't that adorable? Our goal is to get all of these white pieces to be aligned with this yellow center. We can immediately see that if we simply turn this face up, this white piece is going to be aligned with the yellow center. And now look, we have another piece where it's the exact same case. However, this one right here is not so simple, because if we try to move this up, it's going to knock the other one out of place, and we still only have 2 that are in the correct spot. So what we can do is move this out of the way, and then we can move it up. This last piece we have here, however, is going to be the most difficult, because, well, it's the last piece. There are so many other pieces that are already in position, which makes it very easy to knock these pieces out of place for the sake of getting this one in the right place. So in this particular case, we want to have this piece below a slot that is not already taken, and we can do that just by moving this layer over. So now we can move this layer as much as we want, and we're not going to be messing up the other pieces. We can move this edge piece up to the middle layer, where we can use the same method we used earlier, where we move this taken slot out of the way, and then move this one up. Let's say there are no edge pieces, where we can simply just turn the face up to get it to align with the yellow. Our goal then is to get these edge pieces in a position such that we can just move the face up and align the white with the yellow center. And the best way to go about that is to get the edge pieces in this middle layer. It's kind of the most essential position for getting the edge piece into the daisy pattern. So as we can see here, we have a white edge piece on the top layer, we have 3 more on the bottom layer. And what I can do really with any of these sides is just move them down, up, like this. And as you can see, just by that one turn in all of these cases, I can get these edge pieces to the middle layer. So I'll move this up in the middle layer. We can just move that piece up, and now these 2 are in position to move up. Again, whether this piece is in the middle layer or the bottom layer, we want to have it below an empty slot. So let's move this over. It is now below an empty slot, and we can move that up. However, there is one more case, and it is the most difficult case of them all, and that is where the white piece is already in the slot, but faced the wrong direction. The most important thing to keep in mind for this method is that we want the edge piece in the middle layer. So in this case, we're going to move the edge piece to the middle layer, move the empty slot, so that way this edge piece is underneath it, and then move it up. Alright, so we have a nice little daisy now. However, we're about to completely destroy it because I don't have respect for nature. This is where the white cross comes into play. As you can see, this white edge piece has orange on it. What does that mean? That means it's going to ultimately have to be on the orange side. The centerpiece determines the color of the face. If we want this orange piece on the orange side, it's going to have to be aligned with the orange center, and it is not. That's bad. So, how do we fix that? Well, we can just move this top layer until eventually it lines up with the orange center. We simply have to move it down twice, and it is now aligned with the white and orange center. We just have to do that for the remaining 3 now. This is green. Let's move it over to the green center. Move it down. Red, line it with the red center. Move it down. And blue, align it with the blue center and move it down. And now as you can see, we have white aligned with white, blue aligned with blue, and we have that with all of the remaining colors. Alright, time for the next step, which is completing the first layer. Now this next step is difficult, but if you've ever had your heart broken, don't worry, it won't be that difficult. However, solving a Rubik's Cube will not bring them back. Much like with the first step, we're going to have a goal as to where we want the corner pieces that we're solving to be before we solve them. In the first step, we wanted these edge pieces to be in the middle layer so we can manipulate them how we needed to, like my friends. But in this case, we want the corner pieces on the top layer, so we can manipulate them how we need to. So you might have some corner pieces on the top layer, you might have some on the bottom layer, you might have all on the bottom layer, or you might have all on the top layer. In any case, we're going to start with whatever pieces are on the top layer. If there are none, I'll show you how to fix that. First thing to note is the colors on this corner piece, blue and orange, which means we want this corner piece to be in between the blue and orange centerpiece. Corner piece is in between the 2 centers that it needs to be. You're going to want to pay attention to this white piece because it can be in one of 3 positions. Top layer facing up, top layer facing right, or top layer facing left. So to start with this first case, we want to get this white piece so that way it is either facing right or left. And the way to do that, hold the cube so that way this piece is on the right side and do this series of moves. You move this right side up, top face twice, and then the right face down. And after you do that, this white piece will now be facing right. What you do now is hold this piece so that way it's still in between the orange and blue center, and you're going to hold it so that way it is on the left side. Because it is on the left, you will be moving it right, because that makes sense. You will move this edge piece that's on the left up, and then you can move this corner back into place. And what this does is it puts this white corner on top of this white edge piece, and now when you bring it down, it will be in its respective position. So now let's do this with the other 3 corner pieces. I found another corner piece here. It is green and orange, so I will bring it to the green and orange centerpiece. The white is facing to the right, so we're going to hold this to the left, and we're going to move it to the right, move this side up, move this back, and down. We have yet another white piece facing to the right. We will move it between its 2 respective centers, to the right, up, back, and down. And now we have reached our third case where the white piece is facing to the left, which means we are going to hold this piece to the right. We're going to move it left, move the right edge piece up, move this back, and move that right edge piece back down. But Rubik's Cube YouTuber man, what if every corner of my first layer is on the bottom layer? How do I get the corner piece to the top layer? Calm down, your parents still love you. In this case, what you're going to do is you're going to find the corner piece that's on the bottom layer. It can be any of them, and you're going to hold it so that way it is on the right side of the cube. And what you're going to do is use pretty much the exact same process that you would to get the corner piece into the correct slot. So, bring the right face up, move this corner piece to the left, and then move this right face back down. And now as you can see, none of the edge pieces have been messed up, and your corner piece is now on the top. Alright, and that is it for the first layer. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you're not done. Alright everybody, so time for step 3, the second layer. And since we're on the second layer, you get to now learn a little something called notation! Yeah! Now, as we know, the Rubik's Cube has been considered impossible to solve for thousands of years. However, all of that changed once the Americans learned what letters were. And that is where we derive notation. Now, as you may already know, there are at least 6 sides on the standard 3x3 Rubik's Cube, which means there are only 6 notations we have to learn. Now, notation is just a fancy way of telling you which side of the cube to turn and what direction to turn it, that either being clockwise or counterclockwise. And each letter in notation stands for a different side. Now, as you can see here, in my best handwriting possible, I've written down the first algorithm that you are ever going to learn. This is for practice purposes only, but as mentioned previously, there are 6 total letters. The first letter that does not have an apostrophe indicates that you'll turn that face clockwise. The apostrophe indicates that you're going to turn that face counterclockwise. Now really quickly, I'm going to go over what these letters represent. F stands for front clockwise, B stands for back clockwise, R stands for right clockwise, L stands for, we're going to skip that one because I don't take L's. U stands for up clockwise, and D stands for down clockwise. That said, sometimes the clockwise and counterclockwise can get a little confusing if you don't have an IQ over 200. So in that case, what I recommend, if F clockwise turns the front side sort of to the right like that, then B clockwise is going to turn the back face to the left. So it's the opposite. Same with the up face. This is up clockwise, which means that this is down clockwise. Alright, with notation down, you officially have the big brain knowledge to memorize your first two algorithms to finish the second layer. Alright, so for the second layer, there are two algorithms that you need to memorize, and that is because when it comes to putting edge pieces in the correct place, there are only two ways you can move that edge piece. To the left, like so, or to the right, like so. Which one do you think was the correct direction? What you need to know about this second layer is that the edge pieces you're looking for will not have yellow on them. If an edge piece has yellow on it like this one, you are going to pretend that it doesn't exist. If all of the edge pieces that don't contain yellow are in the middle layer, that is because you are a loser and you're going to have to do extra work to fix that. But if you're one of the cool kids like me, you're going to have some edge pieces on the top layer and some edge pieces in the middle layer. And in that case, your goal is to find the edge pieces that are on the top layer. So let's take this blue and red one for example. You're going to put the edge piece so that way it's in front of you. And depending on which color is facing you will determine what center you're going to move it to. We're going to move this one to the red center since the red is facing us, and then we're going to look to the right and to the left of the cube. As we can see, to the left is the blue center and the other color on this edge piece is blue, meaning we're going to be using the left algorithm in this case. And the next edge piece after this one will be the right algorithm. So for now I'm going to write down the left. Now some of you might be wondering why I'm writing instead of just displaying the letters. That is because editing is for the employed. So with the edge piece facing you and the edge piece needing to go to the left slot here, we're going to do this algorithm. UI, LI, U, L, U, F, UI, FI. Now if I did that algorithm too quickly for you, cry about it and set the playback speed to 0.5. Alright, so looking at our top layer again, we see that we have another edge piece that doesn't contain yellow. It is green and orange. Green's facing us, so we bring it to the green center. And now, looking at the fact that this is orange, it has to go to the orange center, which is on the right. We're going to be using the right algorithm. Alright, so I wrote down the algorithms a little bit more neatly. U, R, UI, RI, UI, FI, U, F. Alright, now I know some of you are currently in the fetal position crying because all of your edge pieces are on the middle layer. To fix that, you simply have to do either of these two algorithms. What that will do is it will put one of these yellow edge pieces in the place of one of these edge pieces, which will, well, put one of these edge pieces onto the top layer. So for the sake of not having used the left algorithm enough, we're going to use the left algorithm. So in this case, I'm going to get this green and orange piece out using the left algorithm, holding it on the left. UI, LI, U, L, U, F, UI, FI. And now that edge piece is in the back here, and well, we use the right algorithm to get it in place. Alright, so you have solved your first two layers, or you haven't. And if you haven't by this point in the tutorial, that is because you should do your homework and come back to this tutorial later. Even though it would be funnier if I just sat here and made fun of you for not being able to solve the first two layers, I would rather be encouraging and tell you that it took me about 10 tutorials and a month-long break before I figured out how to solve the Rubik's Cube. That said, we are now on the fourth step, which is completing this yellow face, which is done in two phases. One, oh, that solved it. Whoops. The first phase being to solve this yellow cross like this, and then the second phase being to solve the rest of the layer, like so. So, once you get to this phase, there are three cases that you're going to encounter. One case is where there are two edges solved adjacent to each other, one where there are two edges solved opposite to each other, and one where there are no edges solved at all. And of course the other case being the cross is already finished. And if your cross is already solved at this point, you're hacking. So, because there are three possible cases, you're going to be learning two algorithms, because that makes sense. Now let's start with the first algorithm, which is this bar case. Now in any case, we're going to pretend that the corners don't exist. So if you have corners flipped up, that's cringe, pretend they're not there. Alright, so hold this bar horizontally, and then do that algorithm. F, R, U, R, I, U, I, F, I. And now you have a cross. Alright, now if two of these edges are adjacent to each other, you're going to hold them in the top left corner like that, and you're going to do this algorithm. F-U-R-U-I-R-I-F-I. And now you have another cross. Now in the case where you have no edges oriented, you're going to have to do either of these algorithms and it will give you the opposite case. So if you do this algorithm, it will give you two edges opposite to each other. If you do this algorithm, it'll give you two edges adjacent to each other. Alright, so you've completed the first two layers and the yellow cross on the top layer. Well, guess what, loser? You still have like 6 more things you need to learn. Once you've completed this cross, you're going to have one of 7 cases. Either this case, this case, this case, this case, this case, this case, or this case. Now you don't really need to memorize in detail the cases, but you need to memorize how to hold them before performing this algorithm. And what do I mean by that? Well, you see these little orange lines that I have on the side of the cube? Well, those represent these yellow corners that are facing outwards that aren't oriented properly. And just to make it simpler, you really only have to worry about the corner piece that's facing you. And the ultimate goal of this step is to, we'll solve it. But before you do that, you want to ultimately end up with this case right here. Why? Stop asking questions. Alright, once you do this algorithm with this case, with this corner piece facing you, it will solve the top layer. And if you do this algorithm on any of these cases, it will bring you to this one, given that you're holding it how the paper instructs you to hold it. So let's just do all of these. Alright, first case. Second case. Third case. Fourth case. Fifth case. Sixth case. And finally, the 7th case. And in all of these cases, once you get to this point, do the algorithm one more time, and that top face is solved. Now, a trick that I like to use for memorizing how you need to have all of these oriented is called simply remembering. Once you remember how these yellow corners should be oriented in all of these cases, you should have absolutely no problem getting to this case. And again, you don't need to remember how every single corner is oriented, just the one that's going to be facing you when you do the algorithm. So what you're going to do once you reach this step is look for something called headlights. Essentially, headlights are going to be 2 matching corners. So here we have blue and green, those corners aren't matching. We have orange and red, those aren't matching. Green, blue, red, up. As it turns out, none of them are matching, and that is because this is the most difficult case you can come across at this step, and I like to challenge myself in life. However, if you do have headlights, you're on easy mode. Wait for us people who actually have to struggle in life to get what we want. Alright, so using this algorithm, you're going to have the cube oriented in any which way, so long as the yellow is facing the top, and then do the thing. Now again, if I did that algorithm too fast for you, simply get good. And after you've done that algorithm successfully, if you look around the cube, you should find a pair of headlights right here. Now in this case where there actually are headlights, maybe you already did have them, you're going to orient them so that way they're facing away from you. So we're going to turn the cube twice, and then we can do that algorithm again. Alright, and now there should be headlights on every single side. Alright, you're finally at the last algorithm that you need to learn. Now I could be evil and give you 4 different algorithms because there's 4 different cases that you'll run across here. However, if I did that on a beginner tutorial, I would probably be sent to hell. So when you're at this stage, you're either going to have 4 total misplaced edge pieces, 4 total misplaced edge pieces but kind of different, 3 total misplaced edge pieces, or 3 total misplaced edge pieces but different. Alright, so if you have 4 total misplaced edge pieces, what you're going to do is hold the cube with any of these faces facing you and do this algorithm. what that's going to do is it's going to give you 3 total misplaced edge pieces. And once you get to this case, you're going to hold the face that has no misplaced edge pieces behind you, then do that algorithm again. And that'll be solved. Unless, of course, you have this case where there are 3 total misplaced edge pieces. Now what this algorithm does is it rotates these edge pieces counterclockwise. So this blue is going to go here, orange here, and green here. Meaning if we do this algorithm, we're still going to have 3 total misplaced edge pieces. But if we do it one more time, it'll be solved. Alright everybody, so that is it for today's tutorial on how to solve a Rubik's Cube. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, where I will be sure to not respond to them.